board so that those who are unable to attend today can still watch this later. So, I listened to a podcast earlier today and I didn't listen to it all the way through because I was actually taking a lot of notes in the first 15 minutes. And I don't know if you guys know who Trent Shelton is. He's an ex NFL player, but he was being interviewed by one of my favorite podcasters, Dean Graziosi. You guys always hear me talk about him if you've been on my lives before. But Dean talks a lot about owning your future. And he is someone that's really helped me soar and succeed to the degree that I'm at right now. Because I'm someone that struggled a lot with imposter syndrome, and I still do. And I don't know if you guys know what that is, but I want you to throw it in the chat. What do you think imposter syndrome is? Either you know it or you don't, but I want you guys to guess or state what you think it is. Being someone you are not really knowing who you are. It's a good start. What else? There's no wrong answer, you guys. This is just what you think. Trying to be like others. Yeah, so imposter syndrome is really something that you deal with mentally. It's you being afraid. It's you self-doubting, right? It's you questioning, what if I fail, right? All these thoughts and these things that we're asking ourselves, that is essentially what imposter syndrome is. It's a syndrome within ourself, right? So it's essentially the voices in our heads, not sounding schizophrenic, but like the voices of others in our heads questioning ourselves, right? Am I capable of doing this? One of the things that they mentioned on the podcast today were Trent said something that he struggled with, or the thoughts that he struggled with were, these people are working harder than me. How am I in this position? Am I not supposed to be here? Is it luck? How am I here? Right? Why do things sometimes feel so effortlessly? Sometimes we think if it feels effortless or easy, it's wrong. But that's the complete opposite. We need to break that mindset because that mindset is what's going to hold you back. That mindset is what's going to keep you right where you're at right now. The only difference between me and you guys right now is my mindset, right? It's just a little shift in mindset. And that's what's going to separate you from everyone else in this world. That's what's going to get you up to my level right now and even above me, right? It's just your ability to shift your mindset. That's the only difference between us and millionaires and billionaires. It's all about mindset, okay? No one gets rich overnight. Money does not just show up at your doorstep. Life is not easy. It's never going to be easy. But if things feel a little bit easy from time to time, it's not a bad thing. And especially when it comes to this job, that's not a bad thing because easy and effortless means it's your gift, right? If it feels easy and if it feels effortless, even if it's not right now, right? That's part of the journey. But that means that's a gift that you've been given because it's natural. It's not forced, right? It's what you were called to do in this world. And I think sometimes we struggle with that. I know I am guilty of that. I struggle a lot with that still, where I'm like, this is easy. Is something bad going to happen now? Like, this feels too good to be true, right? And in a lot of instances, it is. There's a lot of fucked up things that have happened in this world and that are still happening because a lot of people's mindset is very shifted and off. But that's how you're going to separate yourself from the rest of the world, right? The 1% and the 99%, the only difference is mindset. So don't focus on money right now. The money will come. You have to take your life into your own hands and make that shift. And it's freaking hard. The only way you can stay on track is by using your resources. So there's something Dean talked about in this podcast specifically. And he said, resourcefulness will outdo resources. So I say all the time, I'm giving you guys resources, right? But if you guys aren't using the resources, right? If you're not using the resources you're given, you're not being resourceful. Resourceful is using the resources that you're given. If you have resources and they're just sitting there and you're not doing anything, if you're not watching the videos, if you're not going to the websites that I'm, showing you guys, if you're not doing the things that I'm asking you to do, I'm asking you to do them because it's going to help you. And the only way that you're going to get better is by just trusting the things that I'm saying, because they're to your advantage. They're really not to mine. This is going to change your life. It's not going to just change your now, right? So I'm setting you guys up for success for the future, not just the present. You have to be present in order to get the future that you want. But it's like, how do you get there, right? How are we going to bridge that gap? I'm helping you bridge that gap because sometimes you don't even know that's what you need. I know I was in that position. I didn't know what I needed until Sarah came into my life, right? And there were times where I'm just like, I'm so in my head right now. And she's like, Nikki, it's you against yourself. And so at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for. She's very driven in so many different ways, and she's so well respected. A lot of people say that Nikki is Sarah 2.0, right? Because Sarah's been with the company for 4 years. I do see a lot of myself in Sarah. So I do believe we are very similar. Now, I would say I have a little bit more empathy than Sarah does. She can be a little bit more hard-headed than I can be at times. But I appreciate that so much because sometimes at the end of the day, it's like, you just need to hear it how it is, right? And not beat around the edges or beat around the bush. It's like, we're so used to people consoling us and telling us like, it's okay. Sometimes it's not okay. And it's okay to admit that, right? So a few things I want to just touch on before we move on to the next topic. And the next topic is going to be the membership updates. So just a few more minutes of this. But I want you guys to notate something. So make sure you have somewhere you can write this down. It's really important to redefine your meanings. So I want you to throw it in the chat. What do you think that means to redefine your meaning? It's okay if you have to sit for a second. But to redefine a meaning, what does that mean? I'll give you an example. What does failure mean to you? What's your meaning of failure? Type it in the chat. What's your meaning of failure? To fail means to ... Trying at something and not seeing the results you'd hoped. Giving up in a certain amount of time. The results you hoped in a certain amount of time. Not providing for your son. Good job, you guys. What else? Failure means taking your mess and making it your message. What do you mean by that, Yvette? I like that, but I want to know what you mean by that. Not learning from your mistakes. So I want you guys to shift your meaning of failure. And instead of the responses that you gave, right? Trying something and not seeing the results that you'd hope for in a certain amount of time, giving up, not providing for your son. These are all limiting beliefs. These are all meanings that we tell ourselves, but redefining the meaning essentially means to change what the word means, because what it means to you is different than what it could mean to me and to everyone else. Look at everyone else's responses. They're similar, but they're still different, right? Failure, I want you guys to look at is just not doing it. It's not trying something and not seeing the results that you hope for in a certain amount of time, because that's pressure you're putting on yourself. That's not failing, right? Trying is better than not trying at all. So the fact you're trying to me is not failure. Those that aren't trying are those the ones that are failing right now, right? Giving up. Well, that's a complicated answer, right? Sometimes we give up for a variety of reasons, but at least you started. Now, Danielle, when you say not learning from your mistakes, it's kind of rephrasing that, right? What can I learn from this? So if you're not getting the results that you want in a certain period of time, it's like, okay, why? What's the why? What's the why between where I am at and where I want to be, right? These are all questions you need to ask yourself. What can I learn from this? Every day, there's shit that happens, right? And it's like, why is this happening? But instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You have to say, why is this happening for me, right? Because the for is the lesson. That's what the universe or whatever it is that you believe in is trying to teach you. These things are happening for you to realize something, right? To shift your perspective, to figure out how not to do something, right? And so I want you guys to look at that as fuel, right? Look at that word failure as fuel so that next time you don't do it, right? Or next time you make a shift in whatever it is that you guys are doing. The only difference between now and the future of redefining the word failure, same exact circumstance, okay? The circumstances aren't always going to change, but the definition will. And so all I'm saying when I say redefine your meaning, failure is one example, is to change your perception of failure. Change the definition that you give failure, right? You can change it at any point. Same thing with rejection. I struggle with that. I know all of us do. A lot of the times we don't send these messages because we're afraid of being rejected. And that's past trauma, right? That's a trauma response. I'm in trauma therapy, so totally get it. My therapist yesterday, she's like, that was a trauma response, Nikki. And I'm like, yeah, it was. So something I struggle with every day is the thought of not being good enough. Okay. And people can tell you that you are good enough, but to believe it and to hear it are two different things. And to believe it is something that I'm still working on. So, with that said, we're going to move on to the membership updates. So, I'm going to pull up this screen. Don't freak out. I'm going to explain it because it doesn't apply to you guys right now. All right, can you see this announcement? Let me know if you could see it in the chat. Yes. All right, cool. So there's a new price point. It does not affect you guys as long as you stay active, right? So if you go inactive, your card doesn't go through, right? I've had that happen. Wrong card on there, change my card. If you go inactive, normally Archer will give you like a heads up. Hey, your card declined. Hey, it's not working, right? They'll let you know one time, but they're pretty, they'll give you maybe a day or two to update that, and then you'll go inactive and you'll have to reinstate. The new price of $89.95 to enroll applies if you have to reinstate. As long as you don't reinstate, you'll be grandfathered into the current pricing, right? So $69.95, and then Evo Plus, should you choose to use Evo Plus, $10.99 a month. So essentially, you're saving $10 compared to what will kick into effect December 1st, right? All new agents moving forward will be responsible for paying the $89.95 to enroll or to reinstate. Now, the difference between $89.95 or $89.99 and $69.95 is that Evo Plus will now be included in all future enrollments. It won't be a separate fee. You are still saving money right now if you choose to do it up front. So it is to your advantage if you do to lock in that pricing. Should you not, I think it'll go up to $15.99 a month if you don't lock it in December 1st, right? And you're grandfathered into the $69.95. Or you re-enroll at $89.95. It's your choice, right? One thing you need to be mindful of. So your $69.95 membership has a date, right? Every month it gets pulled out at a certain date based on the date that you enrolled. Evo Plus is probably a different date. Okay, so if your money gets pulled out, say what's today's date, the 28th. Your money gets pulled out, say the 20th, 29th of every month for your membership, right? The $69.95. Evo Plus, say it gets taken out on the 1st of every month. You need to make sure that both of those cards are up to date, because if your Evo Plus doesn't go through after a time or two, then you'll be paying the increased price of $15.99. So really it just comes down to holding yourself accountable, because you guys are getting the update now. It's just something I want you guys to keep in mind, so that moving forward, should you go inactive at any point, mistake or not, it'll be the increased price. Cool. All right, so we're gonna stop that share. And then let me see what I had next on my list. Okay, so I want to talk about marketing yourself. Yvette, I think you brought this up, and it's really a really good point to hit on. How are you guys marketing yourself right now? Throw it in the chat. What are you doing to market yourself? If you're not marketing yourself, it's okay. Just say it so I know how to help you guys. Nothing yet. Okay. Thanks for the honesty. Are you guys doing anything or no? Business cards, some social media. Okay. So marketing yourself, you guys, it could be looked at in a variety of ways, right? Business cards, posting on Facebook, messaging people is still a form of marketing them. Exposing yourself through conversation, right? So talking to people, letting them know that this is what you're doing. That's what we refer to as not being a secret agent, right? By just talking about it in conversation, naturally talking about it. Oh yeah, I'm a travel agent, right? Very nonchalant, doesn't need to be salesy, but it's letting people know like, hey, I sell travel, right? I get heavily discounted rates. I have access to unpublished fares. Things like that, right? I boost Instagram posts and post on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, join local groups, mention it there and give them social media links. Yeah, I will say George has been really awesome with staying consistent, you guys, because consistency is key, right? The reason I say 10 messages a day, I'm starting you off there. There's so much more to do to build yourself, right? But we all have to start somewhere. So I don't want to overwhelm you with too much and say, do this, do that, do this, do that, right? Because I know I would be overwhelmed. I was afraid to tell people that I'm a travel agent without the experience being there. Abso-freaking-lutely, Danielle. That is a very valid concern. The thing is, you're never going to have enough experience, right? There's no such thing as knowing everything. There's always something to know, whether it's now or later, right? Things are always changing, ever evolving. And so I'm here to say that that was my concern in the beginning too. I was afraid to tell people. I'm like, I just signed on. I'm not, am I really a travel agent? No, I'm not a travel agent. Like, I'm not going to be a travel agent until XYZ, right? It's the buts, the what ifs, the untils that will kill you. Because that's your ego, right? Your ego is your head, your mind. That's what it's referred to as. So it's you against your ego that you have to work on breaking. And it's a little uncomfortable the first few times, but the more you talk about it, the more you own it, the easier it becomes, I promise. And then things just start flocking to you. The minute that you accept that you are a travel agent and that you are experienced, whether you believe it or not, your world will change because that's the energy you're putting out into the world, right? It's contagious. I know through experience that it's contagious. When I'm in moments of doubt where I'm like in my head, like, oh, I don't know this, less people come to me, right? Because I'm questioning myself. Why would anyone else trust me if I don't even trust myself? So even if you don't believe it right now, I'm here to validate each of you are experienced, number one. And number two, you're all travel agents. Okay. If you are enrolled, if you took that first test, which you did, that's step one, you're all travel agents and you all have experience traveling. If you left your house, you've traveled, right? And if you were born in a hospital or you left the house that you were born in, you've traveled. So again, redefining meanings, that goes with redefining A, what a travel agent is, and B, what experience is, because you are both of those things, right? Some people might have more exposure than others, but that doesn't mean that you're less experienced because you're less exposed. It means lean into the experience that you have and use the resources that you're given so that you can study and look up places that you haven't been to, right? So ChatGPT, I talk about it all the freaking time. Do I not?